So this is a quick review of solving equations. So I'm going to go over two-step equations and equations with variables on both sides. So this is this is stuff you did last year, so it's just kind of a chance to review and give you a couple examples before you start the assignments. Okay, so here are two examples of two-step equations. So we're going to go through the one on the left first. So sometimes it helps if you want to draw a line through the equal sign, so that helps you keep balanced between what's happening on the left hand and the right hand side. So remember, we're using inverse operations to undo things so we can isolate the variable. So on that first equation, I want to get rid of the plus 5, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So those 5s are going to cancel because one's plus and one's minus. So I'm going to be left with 2x equals, and then 21 minus 5 would be 16. So then I want to undo the multiplication. So it's 2 times x. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. And then our answer, so we've isolated x, 16 divided by 2 is 8. So there's our answer. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to draw that line through the equal sign. So again, I want to get rid of anything with the variable. So at first I'm going to focus on the minus 8. So the inverse operation would be plus 8 on both sides. So those are going to cancel, and I'm going to be left with negative 3x equals, so this is negative 20 plus 8. So that would be negative 12. And then I want to get rid of everything with the x, so I'm going to divide by negative 3. And here we know that a negative divided by a negative turns into a positive, so my answer is 4. Okay, so those are two-step equations. So now on this last slide, we're going to go through ones where we have variables on both sides and then remind how to do the distributive property as well. Okay. So starting on this one on the left, I'm going to draw my line again. So this time, instead of just 2 steps, it's going to take us more. And our first thing we want to do is we want to look, can we combine like terms? No, we can't. There's no like terms on either side of the equation. Is there parentheses that I can distribute? No, there's not. So now I want to get the variables or the x's on one side of the equation and the constants, or the ones that don't have the x, on the other side. So I'm going to start, I always like to start with the variables. So I'm going to start with the x's, and I can move them to either side, but I know 2's smaller than 7, so I'm going to choose to subtract 2x from both sides, because then I don't have to deal with negatives. Okay, so that's going to cancel those over there, and then I have 5x plus 3 equals 13. So now it becomes like the problems we just did on the previous slide, and it's a two-step problem. So we subtract 3. That cancels. We get 5x equals 10. Divide by 5. And we get x equals 2. Okay? So now for the last problem here, we have parentheses. So that means we need to distribute what is in front of the parentheses. So that means we need to take the negative 2 and we're going to multiply it by both 5 and negative 4x. So my first step, I'm going to leave this side of the equation alone. Okay, now over here, I take negative 2 times 5 and I get negative 10. And then I take negative 2 times negative 4x, and a negative times a negative, remember, is a plus. It's positive. So just keep in mind that sign in front of the 4x goes with the 4x. So that would be plus 8x. Okay, so now that first step has turned this problem into the previous problem that we just did. We have x's on both sides, we have numbers on both sides. So we can start wherever. I usually like to start with the x's, and I see that this negative 3x is negative, so I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And notice how I'm lining everything up, and that's helpful because then we remember that things are variables or constants and we're keeping ourselves organized. So those cancel. I'm left with negative 32 over here. And then this is negative 10 plus 11x. Okay, now I'm going to get the constants to the other side, so I'm going to add 10 to both sides. So that's going to turn into negative 22 equals 11x, because those cancel. So then my last step is to divide both sides by 11. So negative 22 divided by 11 is negative 2. Okay, so that's just a kind of a quick review on solving equations. Let me know if you have any questions.